And if he does mute you, please don't feel offended. He's just trying to make sure we're not getting feedback on the recording and all that. Okay? So, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
You want to adjust the agenda, Joe, for some reason?
Yeah, because we may not have a quorum in about 45 minutes, I wonder if we can move consideration of the application up to item 1, and then we can look after the minutes and so on after we look after the application. Would that be all right with everyone?
Sure.
Okay, fine. Let's proceed then with the application.
Okay. Neetu, do you want to put up a PowerPoint or whatever?
Sure, Joe. I'm just going to pull it up on
Thank you.
right here.
Thank you. So the application is 15495 Oxenham Avenue. This is a revised submission. It is a zone change application and a minor development permit. The zoning now is one RS1, 1 residential, 5,000 square foot lot is the minimum lot size, or 464 square meters, I guess. And the application here is to go from a single family house to a duplex. Next slide, please. There's your location, north side of Oxenham, between Best and Finley. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see the property outlined in the red line. As I said, the existing zoning is RS-1. Proposed zoning is RT-1 to allow duplex as a permitted use. Next slide, please. Yeah, the background, the application is for a zoning amendment. Original proposal presented to you on July 7, 2020. Second time, July 15, 2021. And as a result of that last meeting, ADP was looking for some reconsideration of various design details on the building. Hi, Faye. Welcome aboard. Next slide, please.
Hi.
Yeah. So this is a image of the proposed duplex as it has been redesigned, I believe, but I will let the applicant speak to that. Next slide, please. This is the policy framework. The site is highlighted in that teal green color on Oxenham. It is a mature neighborhood, and in a mature neighborhood, we do allow singles, duplexes, triplexes, and similar. Next slide, please. These are the mature neighborhood infill development permit area guidelines, and I'm sure you've all seen these before. Tend to be very rational. We also have a duplex and triplex design guideline document, which you've probably seen before. That's also a very useful document, in my opinion, to help inform and inspire better design. Next slide, please. So in terms of process, public information meeting held July 7, 2019. ADP reviewed July 7, 2020, July 15, 2021, and today, February 15, 2022. In terms of process, land use and planning committee, then it goes to council for first and second readings, then it goes to public hearing, and after public hearing you have third reading and final, and after that you have building permits and construction. But today we're at February 15th, 2022, and it is the advisory design panel review. Next slide. Okay, and now I'm going to ask the proponent, Prab Qatar, to present if able.
Is it possible that I was trying to put up the presentation from my laptop, but it's some reason it's not coming up. If Neetu could put up the presentation.
Sure, Prab. Yeah, I can pull it up.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Could you go to the next slide? So yeah, we're rezoning from RS1 to RT1. 2 attached homes, duplex, and the floor area is, without basement, is 4,108 square feet. If we go to the next slide, so that's the development proposal board that's on the site right now. And then if we go to the next slide. So this is the rendering, that the latest rendering as per like the changes requested by the design panel. And so there's 2 renderings. So there's one. So last time we came to the panel, we had a discussion amongst the design panel themselves about the tree not being there in the front. So the reason that there's 2 renderings is to better showcase the property in itself without the tree. The tree is to be retained. It's not going to be going anywhere. It's just to give a better scope of what the property is going to look like. So I got both renderings made. Then this is just from the side, and this, I think the next one is going to be without the tree again. And this is the material board. So you're going to be using hardy boards, and the colors next to it, and the stone, shingle roofs, aluminum fascia, the garage doors, and then the vinyl framed window trims. This is the architectural plan, just from the top view. If we go to the next slide, that's the front of the property for like the most updated drawings from the designer. Go to the next slide. That's the side elevation and the rear elevation. That's the main floor plan. This is the upper floor plan. And then I believe lastly is the basement's floor plan. And these are from the landscape designer. And this is another image from the landscape designer as well.
Prab, can I quickly request you to go back to the renderings, the front and the slightly angled renderings that you showed?
Yeah, Neetu's in control of it, but we can definitely go back to it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, thanks. Just wanted to check something along with the elevation that we just saw, so that's fine.
Anything. If there's anything else, we can definitely go over it and discuss it.
Okay, does anyone else other than Rashir have any questions? Comments? Joe?
Just one question perhaps to planning staff.
Yes.
Since it's a rezoning, I'm just wondering if this is an accurate representation of the sidewalk, or is the sidewalk profile going to be changing? Like, is this what we can expect to see in the end?
I think the sidewalk is not like that. There is no sidewalk on Oxenham like built across the street. It's just, I believe the rendering.
Okay, so sorry, so back to perhaps Joe, is there a requirement to install sidewalk because it is rezoning, or is it just match with the existing adjacencies?
I think the answer is maybe. I've got to consult the street and traffic bylaw, but certainly when this thing goes to council for first and second reading and then public hearing, if it gets to third reading after the public hearing, the applicant will have to enter into a works and services agreement with the engineering department. And it's in that WSA, Joe, where they figure out what, like, if there's gonna be a sidewalk reconstruction or not. That's actually in the works and services agreement.
Okay.
So my
Thank you.
answer is maybe, I think so, yes, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just that right now it looks like a lot of grass and that looks nice, but I guess
Yeah.
we'll stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the grass will be there for sure. Yes.
Anyone else have a comment on that?
Yeah, just a quick clarification. I think the applicant mentioned that the rendering is the latest. And am I to understand that the 2D elevations have been changed to reflect that? Or is that the old submission?
So the renderings are the latest renderings that I have gotten made from the rendering company, but the architectural plans are the latest as well. So they're both new.
The elevation, the front elevation in terms of material, hardy panels does not reflect on the renderings, especially on the upper level. So that's why I think that's probably why the question came about.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The roof line is a little different, so I was wondering what was the correct one.
Had made a mistake, but I had already submitted the file off to City Hall by then. I never caught it prior to it, but if you look at the designer's new drawings new set of drawings that would be submitted for like building permit in the future, those reflect the accurate roof lines and the eaves mat lining up and everything.
If I may, I think some of the confusion is also coming from your response letter summary of changes, wherein you say that the guardrail has been changed to metal, but it's glass on the rendering, but metal on the architectural. So that's a bit confusing.
Yeah, I think the rendering company just made because I sent them changes multiple, like every time that we discussed the changes, and I think they just kind of mixed them up.
Fair enough.
But everything
Architectural
plans is accurate.
Yeah. Can I see the landscape plan for a second?
Yeah.
Oh, you just went by it, I think. Oh,
Yeah, this is it. So if you see on the west side, there's a sidewalk going to the backyard, and then there is also a little window well. So what's happening here? Where the window well is, yes. Is there is there grate on top of that, or what's happening there?
It will be covered with I don't know what it's exactly called, but the guard, I think it is.
Yeah.
The wall guard.
It would be a metal grate, and I think this came up the last time we saw this.
Yes, I believe so too.
Yeah.
And as much as this has been through the design panel previously, a lot of the issues I think have been corrected, and I don't know whether we need to explore a lot of the stuff that's already been done, but anyway, go ahead in the interest of time. But I like the if I may, I like the landscape plan, and Rashir, it looks like a very nicely designed landscape. And
yeah, it's much more detailed than the last time as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I was hoping.
So is it the same company that you've used, or you've changed the company who did the?
It's the same company. I went to them and I told them that we need to be much more in depth and in detail. And I spoke with the rendering company as well to make sure that they detailed the drawings better and use better quality renderings so that it better shows. If I don't have the previous, I have the previous drawings, but I don't know how.
Sure, we'll just try and make it as quick as we can. I'm going to just suggest a couple points here on the landscape plan, so we don't have to come to this plan again. The trees that are shown outside here in the boulevard, which are Armstrong maple, which is red maple of a vertical columnar style. I would suggest maybe do a Japanese maple or something that's more ornamental in front. Just a small suggestion. couple other small items in terms of choice of plants, etc. Try and I'll also make a couple more. If you go to another plan that has plant list, then I can tell you. So you have Armstrong maple, if you see written on the front yard. Just maybe there is a Japanese maple, which is Acer palmatum, which is either a red bloodgood or you can Osho Beni. You can go with those, which are slightly more ornamental. Just a small suggestion. Instead of having a columnar kind of a tree here, which is which changes a little bit as we go along through the season. And then Piscia omorica is a great choice, which you have placed here next to the entry landing, which is a Serbian spruce. Maybe bring it forward a little bit, both sides. And you do have some existing trees there, so you can't really bring it forward on the right side, but on the left side, maybe you can bring it a little forward, make it more ornamental. And there is a quercus, which is an oak tree. Maybe the space is a little challenging for quercus oak where next to the retaining wall. So maybe do go with liquid amber or something. So 3-4 minor item changes, but otherwise I guess it's done well, as Paul was suggesting. It's detailed better. And one more small thing, that you have thuya hedge next to where the sidewalk is going towards the back. Maybe replace it with Texas, which is richer looking.
Okay.
So just a few species changes, not a big deal.
Yeah, no worries. We can definitely take that into consideration and change all those things as.
And if you can open the front elevation architectural, that'll be great. Yeah, so I guess I'll let Joe and Paul also comment on it, but there's too many materials and styles, especially in the front elevation. On the side, you see a lap kind of hardy siding, and on the front, you see larger paneled siding, hardy siding, if you see, which are not reflected on the rendering. But I think if you're using hardy, maybe if you want to do subtle changes in color, it's a different story. But I would suggest that maybe reduce the number of surfaces in the front elevation. There's so many surfaces happening here, according to me. I'll let Joe and Paul talk to that.
And Jim, don't forget Jim.
Yeah, Jim as well, sorry.
One thing I might add, Rashir, on the landscaping, the access to the entrance, there are no sidewalks or pathways. You'd have to go down the driveway and then up the stairs. Is there no way of connecting the street directly rather than going down into the driving area? Do you think we could improve that?
Yeah, that's a good point, but with a very limited width available, because what they've done is they've created a funnel kind of a layout with driveway and squeezed out some landscape in front and then widened it. I guess it probably matches the minimum by zoning bylaw requirements, etc. And then there is steps going up. There isn't much space to squeeze out another direct access. And there'd be too many elements if you added another path going directly to the landing level, though it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. You go down and come up the stairs. But yeah, if you were to add another element of a hardscape going, which bypasses the steps, then I don't think there is much space left for any landscape.
Jim, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, in regards to the elevations, yeah, Rashir was, I was just about to say that I think there's too many patterns going on. Like, I don't know what was submitted exactly before, and I don't want to open any cans of worms that haven't already been exhausted here, but the rendering and the 2D elevation don't match, so that's a little confusing for me. But if I just look at the 2D elevation, I like the hardy plank. I like the use of the stone veneer. I agree there's too many patterns going on with the hardy plank. You've got different exposures of the lap siding. Maybe if you just calm that down and have one. I don't know if the panelized hardy panel is what's really proposed, but I don't know if that is successful. But mainly my comment would be about the coloration. And I think in the guidelines as well, they say to try to avoid like large expanses of similar colors, introducing some different colors. And the color board really shows like a lot of beige on beige. I like the materials. I just don't know if the colors are successful. I think you need a little bit more contrast. You need some, I mean, you've got some dark charcoal for the door. I think that's nice. Maybe it finds its way somewhere else in the building. Like the stone veneer could use a little bit of, maybe that's where it gets a little darker. You get a variation in colors there. It seems to be a little washed out. Maybe there's an opportunity there to introduce, and I'm not talking wild colors, just some darker tones, something to try to tie into the garage door. And the shingles themselves, I think they're showing as architectural shingles, which is good if they're more of like a cedar shake type of look. Maybe we could specify that is, you're going to provide a architectural type shingle there, something with a little bit more texture. And again, they're brown. I don't know if having something a little darker there might work. So that would be my comment as far as the materials. Really, I think you need to vary some of the colors. I think you need a little bit more contrast there. And then when it comes to the, like I said, the materials are fine. Again, I don't want to introduce anything that maybe hasn't already been talked about. So I think overall, it just needs a little bit of refining. When you look at the 2D elevation, there's some notes that refer to cedar shakes and some stone veneer. I'm just hoping that that's not, like if you go to the upper left of that 2D elevation, you can see manufacturer stone veneer. I'm assuming that's just incorrect. Cedar shake, cedar shingle siding. Those are just refinements that have to happen. Yeah, I think those would probably be my main column. As far as the plans, I don't even know if we're supposed to comment on the interior plans, but they seem okay. Other than in the bedrooms, there's a strange double wall happening at the windows on the second floor bedrooms. I'm not sure if that's just a graphic. Like if you go to the second floor, for example.
I'm just gonna pull up the PDF of the floor plans because it might be easier to zoom in. So.
Thanks, Neetu.
Next floor up. There.
Yeah, so in the back, there's boxed out windows, but then there's a double window. Is that a
graphic error, looks like.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think those would be my main comments, really.
Joe?
Yeah, definitely see some pluses and minuses here. This project, as you all know, mostly has been kicked around quite a bit, and I think the applicant has responded as best that they can. So they should be commended for that. I'm going to start with the positive things about this to me, and one is the marked improvement on the front yard landscape. It's a lot more believable. I'll leave it to Rashir's expertise on the landscape components themselves, but it's a bit more robust than last time, and I appreciate that. The other one that was a nice surprise for this project is the footprint, the building footprint. So if you would kindly go back to just any site plan that shows it. Yeah, I do appreciate that the applicant didn't do very similar shapes. So what it looks to me, it provides some opportunity for some visual interest in the massing for the back neighbors. Because back neighbors are, as we all know, kind of thought of last, unfortunately, but this will help, so that's a good thing. And then kindly go to the front elevation, any image, any rendering, there you go. Lastly, on the positive side for me, I really do appreciate how on the west side that the front roof stepped down to a similar elevation as the westerly neighbor You know, if it was approached in a two-story box-like form on both sides, I'd probably still have some dissonance with this application. So that is a marked improvement as well for me. So thank you. I will reiterate the comments from the previous that I think in some respects the rendering is a little bit better with respect to materials. It's too many, straight up too many on the front elevation. I would suggest picking fewer and resolving them quite well instead of many and half resolving them. And then you can bring some interest through not necessarily textural changes, but color changes as already been discussed. But I think you can, you know, put it through a little bit more design development and it'll come out nicely. Other than that, closing comment, it is a challenge when we're in a way designing a styler. So without a style, it's just house components. And I think that that's just something, that's just a comment really, that it is a challenge to work with these components without the discipline of a greater architectural style to guide you. But I will hang my hat on the positive comments that I had mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Faye, you have anything to say?
Yeah, I do. I don't know which drawing it is, but if you can go to the drawing that actually shows the pathway from the driveway to the entrances of both houses. So in order to get to your front door, if you're in the house on the west side, you drive up the driveway and it looks like you go up a series of stairs with a landing to the front door. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. And then on the east side, it's not exactly the same. It's a little bit different. So my concern with that was just anybody walking to the front door, if you've got, you know, cars parked on that driveway, which I'm assuming there will be more than one or two cars parked on the driveway, it might be kind of cumbersome to get to the front door. That's all. That's what my thought was, because there is no separate path to go to the front door. That was my.
That's why I suggested earlier that a second path level of the sidewalk would be better, even if it's a very small stepping stone kind of arrangement through the landscape. Would improve that situation you're referring to.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, I've been thinking about this since we talked. Maybe just on the extreme property edges, we could have stepping stones from the sidewalk direct, and not a cast in place kind of a solution, but more like stepping stone or flagstones or something that don't really hamper or take away from the landscape. I know there are retained trees on the east side, and I guess the sidewalks, which because obviously anything else would go, there'll be heaving situation as well. So if it is accurate the way the trees are shown here, that might allow for some stepping stones next to the property edge. So that goes all the way to the landing leading up to the main door on either side.
Okay, Sharon, do you have something? Please.
I just want to say that I really appreciate the updated rendering and how it's come along. You know, it's amazing. So I know, unfortunately, this has taken 2 years, but the technology caught up to how much nicer it looks. And I think moving ahead is really helpful so that we can be helping some sort of very gentle densification that'll happen faster, because this is really, you know, dragged on. And I know that our changes to triplexes and duplexes is all going to be re-examined moving ahead, because it is time to do that. So thank you. It is really helpful, and it's come a long ways from when it first came to us, and I appreciate the changes.
Could I have a look at the rendering again from the front? I just wanted to bring something to your attention that I found that in the new scheme of things in design, and I think Joe referred to style or something of that sort, but anyway, you'll see that the elevation indicates, obviously compared to the houses next door, that the ceiling height in this building is this now become a standard 9-foot ceiling.
Mhm.
Now that affects the appearance of the building, in my view. It tends to make it, I keep thinking Frankenstein's monster. It just seems to have too much forehead. But that is something that I guess is going to be around us for a while. And anyway, that's just a comment, and I think it's interesting to see the contrast between the building on the left and the one on the right, which are back in the, probably done in the 60s or earlier. Anyway, that's just a comment. I'm not asking for anything drastic. So where do we go from here, Mr. Planner? Where do we go?
I'd like a recommendation from the ADP, and if you go back to your terms of reference, you know, you can make a recommendation to support proceeding to council, make a recommendation to support proceeding to council with subject to considerations to the satisfaction of the staff, or you can make a recommendation to defer, which I don't think you want to do that today. So I would say recommendation 1 or 2 is what we would like to hear from you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I would entertain a motion in that regard. Anybody like to do that?
Sure, I'll put forward that motion, Paul, that it be advanced to Mayor and Council. The number 2 version, if you would,
Yep.
just to address the minor notes that we discussed today. I'm sure that staff can readily handle those adjustments.
Yep.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Contrary, Vinnie? No? That motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we got to go back to the adoption of the agenda.
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Planner.
Let's adopt the agenda as reordered, please.
And adoption, can we have a vote on that then, please?
Sure, I would move to adopt the agenda.
All in favor? Carried. And then adoption of the minutes of February the 15th. Could I have a motion in that regard, please?
No, isn't
Sure.
that January the 18th, Mr. Chairman?
Was it 18th?
January, yeah.
Whatever.
January 18th, 2022, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
No, it's okay.
So somebody move that, please? Okay,
Sure.
contrary? Carried. That's it then.
Do we have a next meeting date in the agenda or no?
No.
Yeah,
It's
there
gonna-
doesn't have to be. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, we
I
don't.
think the next meeting is March 18th, is it not?
Yep,
That's,
I think you're right. Yeah.
that's right.
Can I just ask a question about the next meeting? Is that where we're going, Joseph, you had discussed that we were going to be reviewing 2 new applications. Is that going to take place in the next meeting? Do you know?
I think the answer to that is yes. We will have 2 new applications. And I believe, at least on my notes, the next meeting date is March 15, as
That's
opposed
correct.
to March 18.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
15. That's right.
So, yeah, and Neethu can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 2 new applications on the dock for March 15th.
So yeah, Joe, we do. We have one confirmed application. We're just waiting on the updated renderings on that. And the other applicant is looking to have the package sent to staff by the 24th of February, which is the deadline before the next meeting. I haven't heard back yet, but I do anticipate one file for sure for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, that's it then, everybody.
Okay.
Move the meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
all.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye. Bye,
See you
everybody.
later.
Good night.
Bye.